Imagine a woman seated at a shattered grand piano amid the rubble of Warsaw's Grand Theatre in September 1939, her fingers dancing over cracked ivory keys as bombs fall and fires rage around her, her evening gown torn and soot-streaked, her hair pinned back with a splintered baton, her name Władysława, 28, a concert pianist trained at the Chopin Academy since age 10, now playing Chopin's revolutionary etude on a Börsendorfer salvaged from the orchestra pit. Its strings miraculously intact despite a shell hole in the lid, her eyes reflecting the orange glow of burning buildings, her breath visible in the smoke-choked air, her heart pounding with every distant explosion. By day, she hides in cellars with survivors, sharing bread crusts and water from puddles, her hands trembling as she comforts a child orphaned by the latest raid. By night, she returns to the ruins, her silhouette lit by infernos consuming the old town, her music echoing through streets where German patrols march with boots crunching glass and Polish resistance whispers in shadows, her notes a fragile thread weaving hope through despair. No one told her that BBC monitors in London and Polish exiles in Paris tune to a hidden microphone in the theater's wreckage, capturing every note as proof that Warsaw still holds, broadcasting her playing as a morale beacon to the world, her melodies traveling 1,200 km through static to reach ears desperate for signs of life. For 6 nights she performs Chopin, Paderewski, her own improvisations, her hands bleeding but unbroken, her voice humming along softly to guide her pitch in the darkness, until the piano falls silent on the 6th day under relentless artillery that buries her stage in fresh debris. Yet on the 7th day, September 27, 1939, Home Army partisans launch a daring counterattack precisely at 20:00, the hour her concerts began, guided not by orders, but by the schedule of her music, storming German positions with grenades and stolen rifles, inspired by the rhythm of her vanished melodies, their faces grim with the knowledge that her silence might mean her death. What if a single wrong note had betrayed the entire signal, dooming the city to earlier surrender? By watching, you'll uncover her defiance, playing through blackouts, tuning a bomb-damaged piano with wire and hope, turning rubble into a stage, her lantern the only light in a sea of darkness. These choices made a soloist the voice of a besieged capital, her every arpeggio a dispatch, her every pause a breath for the dying. You'll see how Władysława's final notes orchestrated WW2's first uprising, proving art can arm a revolution even as the artist bleeds. Could shattered ivory really carry a city's pulse across oceans, or would the bombs drown her out before the world heard? Her childhood in Warsaw's Praga district shaped her. Born 1911 to a violinist mother who taught her scales on a battered upright, and a conductor father who drilled rhythm with a metronome, her fingers flying by age 5, her first public recital at 12 drawing tears from audiences, her debut at 16 with the Warsaw Philharmonic cementing her as a prodigy, her life a whirlwind of tour until war turned concert halls to shelters. Had peace lasted, would she have ever known her music could kill or save? September 1, 1939, dawned with Luftwaffe bombs shattering Warsaw like glass, Germany's invasion blitzing Poland in hours with 1,500 planes and 2,000 tanks. And by September 8, Wehrmacht troops encircled the city in a ring of steel 50 km long, cutting water mains, power lines, and hope. 1.3 million civilians trapped with 100,000 soldiers defending barricades built from overturned trams, furniture, and cobblestones torn from streets. The Grand Theatre on Theatre Square, a neoclassical jewel built in 1833 with columns and frescoes, took a direct hit on September 3 from a 500 kg bomb, its roof collapsing in a roar of dust and marble, chandeliers crashing into the auditorium like crystal rain, yet the orchestra pit's Börsendorfer Imperial Grand, 2, 8 meters of Austrian rosewood with 97 keys and extra bass strings, survived under a pile of velvet seats and gilded plaster. Its cast-iron frame bearing 20 tons of string tension, soundboard cracked in spiderwebs but still capable of resonance. Władysława's apartment on Nowy Swiat was obliterated September 5, her personal Steinway reduced to kindling, her sheet music scattering like white flags in the wind. Her family evacuated, but she stayed. Her mother's last words, "Play for Poland," echoing in her ears. What if she had boarded that train? Would Warsaw have sung at all? A map of besieged Warsaw shows red lines of German encirclement tightening like a noose around the Vistula, blue dots of Polish defenses along bridges and parks. A yellow star on the Grand Theater ruins, where resistance technician Janek, a former sound engineer, planted a carbon microphone in the flies amid twisted rigging. Its cables snaking 200 meters through sewer pipes, flooded with waste and rainwater, to a rooftop loop antenna powered by scavenged car batteries from wrecked taxis. Had a single rat chewed through that cable, would London have assumed silence meant death? The crisis was immediate and merciless. German artillery fired 500 shells daily by September 15, rising to 1,000 by the 25th. Fires consumed 30% of the old town, including the royal castle. Food rations fell to 100 grams of bread per person baked from sawdust flour. Water carried in buckets under sniper fire from the Kierbeds Bridge, where bodies floated downstream. Radio silence broken only by official Polish broadcasts from a hidden studio, until Janek's mic captured ambient chaos. Gunfire, screams, collapsing walls, then piano notes proving life endured amid the apocalypse. Władysława's nightly concerts at 20:00 became the solution, a ritual born of desperation, climbing rubble to the pit with a lantern made from a jam jar and candle stub, tuning the Börsendorfer with pliers and guitar wire from a looted shop on Marszałkowska where the owner lay dead amid violins, playing for 200 survivors. Soldiers with bandaged heads, nurses with blood-stained aprons, orphans clutching rag dolls, their faces glowing in her light circle. Their tears mixing with dust. Could bleeding fingers still strike true octaves under falling plaster that buried friends moments before? She chose rhythmic works, Chopin's polonaises for national fire, revolutionary etude for fury, Paderewski's minuet for fragile grace, embedding home army cues and dynamics, forte for hold the line, pianissimo for prepare evacuation. Her improvisations weaving Morse in accents and tempo changes, a secret language only the initiated understood. The effect was electric and far-reaching. BBC announced, "Warsaw plays on" to millions in Britain. Polish exiles in Paris and London rallied aid convoys with medical supplies. Local partisans synced attacks to her 20-30 finales when her crescendos peaked like battle cries. For 6 nights she performed, her hands raw and bleeding through makeshift bandages of torn petticoats, her voice hoarse from smoke but humming along to stay in pitch, until September 26 when the tragedy deepened. When the last string snapped, did the city's heartbeat stop with it, or did it merely change key to something sharper, angrier? The piano mechanics were a miracle of survival, ingenuity, and desperate engineering under fire. The Börsendorfer Imperial Grand featuring 97 keys, 9 extra bass notes down to C0. For deeper resonance that rumbled like distant artillery, its cast-iron plate bolted to a laminated beach rim supporting 230 steel strings wrapped in copper for warmth. Tension totaling 20 tons distributed across tuning pins of nickel-plated steel. The soundboard of Carpathian spruce, 8 thick, cracked in 3 places by shrapnel, but still projecting 80 decibels in the open pit. Its vibrations amplified by the pit's stone walls acting as a natural reflector. Władysława tuned daily with a chromatic pitch pipe salvaged from the conductor's podium. Its reed cracked but functional, adjusting unisons by ear to a equals 435 Hz despite humidity, swelling the pin block and warping the rest plank, replacing snapped strings with 0.9 guitar wire from a music shop on Krakowski Przemiesi, where she found the owner's body slumped over a cello, winding it around tuning pins with pliers forged from a tram rail. Her fingers calloused but precise, testing pitch against a child's humming. The action, Renner mechanism with 7,000 moving parts, had hammers felt hardened by dust and ash. She softened them with steam from a kettle over a campfire fueled by theater programs, regulating let-off to 2. For crisp repetition in Chopin's trills, escapement adjusted with a nail filed to a point, her breath steady despite the stench of burning flesh from nearby streets. Pedals were jury-rigged masterpieces. Unicorda shifted the entire action 5 left via wire after the original rod bent in a blast. Sostenuto held dampers with a clothespin system carved from a violin bow. Damper pedal lubricated with candle wax melted from church votives to silent squeaks that could betray position to patrols. What if a single hammer had jammed miditudes, turning defiance into discord? The orchestra pit, 3 meters below stage level and partially roofed by collapsed beams, formed a natural reflector that bounced sound upward rubble piles, creating a baffle that amplified mids and highs 6 dB toward Theater Square, carrying 500 meters to German lines where soldiers paused mid-step, confused by music amid carnage, some even humming along before officers barked orders. Maintenance was a nightly ordeal under lantern light, dusting 88 keys with her scarf to prevent sticking in ash that fell like black snow, tightening frame bolts with a nail as hammer after each tremor, oiling pedals with machine oil, siphoned from a fallen tram on a ledge Jerozolimsky, polishing the rosewood case with a sock dipped in puddle water to maintain morale. If the piano shines, so do we, she told a dying soldier who smiled through bloodied teeth. Could a soot-streaked Bersendorfer still sing like a cathedral organ when its player wept over the bodies of children? The hidden microphone was a Polish radio-carbon model with a 5 cm diaphragm in a brass housing painted black for camouflage, sensitivity dB capturing nuances from hammer strikes to pedal creaks. Wired through one rubber-insulated cable laid in sewer pipes 50 cm below street level to avoid shrapnel and flooding. Terminating at a rooftop 15-meter wire loop antenna tuned to 6.1 MHz shortwave with a variable capacitor scavenged from a cinema projector. Powered by 2 12-volt car batteries, delivering 50 watts via a homemade oscillator built from 6 L6 vacuum tubes pulled from a destroyed radio station. Janik, the technician and former soundman, adjusted gain nightly with a screwdriver ground from a bayonet, boosting piano frequencies for 104,000 Hz, while filtering bomb blasts below 100 Hz and human cries above 5,000 Hz. The signal skipping atmospherically to BBC monitors in London, where engineers logged Warsaw pianist clear, proof of resistance, on wax cylinders for rebroadcast. Had a single battery failed during her most desperate nocturne, would London have declared the city lost forever? German direction-finding vans with loop antennas on Mercedes trucks hunted military bands on 37 MHz, but missed the civilian frequency, their jammers flooding 7 MHz with white noise, while W. Władysława's signal rode 6.1 clean through the ionosphere, their operators dismissing piano as civilian noise in logs. The mic cable was repaired 3 times under fire, once with electrical tape after a rat chew in the sewer's darkness, twice with candle wax insulation after water seepage turned it brittle, its placement 5 meters above the pit in the flies, hung from a surviving rigging pulley, catching overtones and reverb from the ruined auditorium's 10-meter ceiling where frescoes of Apollo peeled like skin. What if a German patrol had followed the cable's trail through the sewer, emerging behind her bench? Supply trains to Warsaw ran until September 7 on PKP lines. Of 4 locomotives with coal tenders hauling 20-ton wagons of morale goods. Pianos, radios, sheet music, medical supplies. Tracks bombed 150 times in the first week alone. Repairs by 1,000 railway workers filling craters with Vistula gravel and sleepers pried from destroyed homes. The final train on September 7 delivering 50 meters of antenna wire, 4 car batteries, and a crate of vacuum tubes hidden in a shipment marked theater props for the National Theater. Its arrival celebrated with a single Chopin prelude played on a portable gramophone. Post-siege, pianos were smuggled in coffins through home army networks, their cases hollowed for grenades and morphine. Władysława's contacts in the railway union ensuring parts reached the theater. New hammers felt from a tailor's shop on CHOPIN, wire from a bicycle repair on Żelazna, even a tuning fork smuggled in a loaf of bread. Could a coffin piano have replaced the Börsendorfer if the pit had collapsed under the child she buried that morning? Letter censorship by German Feldpost opened 90% of mail with steam and chemicals. Władysława's notes to her sister in Chopin scores, middle C flat, send via usual. Passing as civilian please. Hidden code, scores low meaning ammo critical. Flat for wounded overflow. Couriers carrying them in violin cases through sewers where water reached their waists. Deception fooling censors trained on military keywords while musical terms sailed through unchecked. Partisans used her dynamics in 20 operations by October. Forte chords for advance signaled by runners tapping walls. Staccato for retreat relayed by whistle. Her September 25 Fantasia with its descending chromatics meaning. Final push on 27th at 20:00. Had a censor understood Chopin's harmonic tension, would the 7th-day attack have been betrayed before the first grenade flew? The piano's resonance chamber, despite cracks sealed with paper and glue, projected 500 meters to barricades where soldiers tapped rhythms on rifles in Morse response. The mic's carbon granules vibrating to every hammer strike and pedal sigh. The antenna's loop radiating 50 watts skyward with a standing wave ratio of 1:5. Batteries recharged via bicycle dynamo in the cellar where Janik pedaled 30 minutes for 1 hour of broadcast. His legs cramping as he listened to her play above. The Börsendorfer's extra bass strings, down to C0 at 16 Hz, rumbled like distant artillery, masking grenade throws and courier footsteps, its sustained pedal creating 10-second decays that carried over gunfire to the Vistula, where home army runners listened on crystal sets powered by razor blades and pencils. Could the piano's lowest note have been the deepest deception of all, rumbling beneath German boots? Acoustic physics favored her stage. The pit's stone walls reflected high frequencies toward the square, rubble-diffused lows into a warm reverb, creating a natural equalizer that made Chopin's melodies pierce 1 km through smoke, the mic's placement avoiding direct bomb concussions by 3 meters. Its windscreen a silk stocking from a dancer's costume found tangled in the flies, its fibers filtering wind but not overtones. What if a single shard had pierced that silk shield, turning music to static? Trains post-September 7 ran covertly at night on repaired tracks, pianos disassembled into ambulances with false bottoms, their frames hiding Sten guns and morphine. Władysława's network of former students, now railway clerks, ensuring parts reached the theater. New hammers felt from a tailor's shop, wire from a bicycle repair, even a set of ivory key tops pried from a church organ. The technical web, piano, mic, cable, antenna, batteries, trains, letters, acoustics, formed a clandestine orchestra of survival, her fingers the conductor, her ruins the concert hall, her silence on day 7 the downbeat for revolution, every component tested by fire and blood. When the mechanism failed, would the music die or evolve into something sharper? Night 1, September 8, found Władysława in the theater basement, its ceiling sagging with water from burst pipes, her fingers tracing Chopin scores by matchlight that flickered on walls painted with fatting murals of muses, survivors sharing stories, a nurse humming lullabies to a dying soldier, a boy clutching a violin bow snapped in half, her decision to play born from a vow whispered to the dark. If music dies, so does Warsaw. Would the first note survive the first patrol, or invite a bullet through the heart? She surfaced at dusk, the sky orange with fires that lit the ruins like a macabre stage, German megaphones blaring surrender demands in broken Polish, her gown traded for a coat stiff with dried blood, her hair loose and matted, and she tuned the Bersendorfer under moonlight filtered through smoke, tightening petals with wire stripped from chandeliers. Her first note a C major chord ringing clear despite cracks that spiderwebbed the soundboard. Revolutionary etude followed, its left-hand octaves thundering like artillery that shook dust from the flies, survivors weeping openly, a soldier whispering, "She's our general," before collapsing from shrapnel wounds. The hidden mic captured every nuance, reaching BBC monitors where engineers noted Warsaw pianist, city holds on wax cylinders spun at 78 RPM. Could London distinguish Chopin from cannon fire, or would static swallow her cry? A child, no older than 10, crawled to her bench mid-piece, offering a crust of bread. She played on, tears falling onto the keys. Night 2 brought heavier bombing, a shell exploding 50 meters away in Theatre Square, sending a chandelier fragment through the pit's edge, dust choking the air like flour. But Władysława played Paderewski's minuet, its delicacy a rebuke to violence. Her lantern flickering as another blast shook the ground, children clapping softly until a nurse hushed them. She improvised a polonaise with accents on beats 2 and 4, home army code for supplies needed, partisans hearing via smuggled crystal sets knotting the cue with charcoal on walls. BBC relayed. Music continues, resistance strong. Her hands blistered from the rough wire strings, but she wrapped them in cloth torn from a stage curtain, her log in a notebook with pages curling from damp. Night 2. Piano holds. City sings. Child gave bread. What if a blister burst mid-trill, staining the keys red? A soldier died during the finale, his blood pooling near her pedal foot. She played through, dedicating the last phrase to him. Night 3 intensified the siege, water mains destroyed, fires closer and hotter, the air thick with burning wood and flesh. Władysława playing Chopin's Nocturne in C-sharp minor, its melody floating over barricades like a ghost, soldiers on the front lines 2 km away hearing echoes through the smoke, their morale surging as they reloaded rifles. She added dynamics, sudden forte for attack imminent, partisans decoding by tapping on pipes, preparing grenades in cellars. A nurse bandaged her fingers mid-recital, tears in her eyes as another patient expired nearby. BBC. Warsaw's night music defies bombs. The piano's middle C string snapped with a twang like a gunshot. She replaced it with violin wire under lantern light, tuning by ear while humming the pitch. Could a single wire replacement save an entire uprising, or was it merely delaying the inevitable? During the coda, a shell exploded in the auditorium, burying a group of orphans under plaster. She finished the piece over their muffled cries. Night 4 saw temperatures drop to near freezing, rain turning rubble to mud that sucked at boots, Władysława playing her own composition, a waltz with syncopated rhythms signaling, evacuate civilians south through sewers. Resistance runners slipping through pipes to spread the word, their faces pale with sewer stench. Survivors grew to 200, sharing soup cooked on a campfire of theater programs, her music their only ration against despair. German loudspeakers offered food for surrender. She answered with a thunderous fantasia that shook dust from the rafters. BBC. Pianist plays on Warsaw Unbreakable. A shell shattered the theater's facade, sending a marble cherub crashing near the pit. She played on, dedicating the piece to the child it nearly struck. Would the next shell find the pit's heart, or had fate spared her for one more night? That night, she found the body of Janek, the technician, floating in the sewer, shot while repairing the cable. She dragged him out alone, burying him under the stage with a CHOPIN prelude whispered over his grave. Night 5 brought despair deeper than any bombs. Food exhausted to crumbs, wounded untreated and moaning in the dark. The stench of gangrene mixing with smoke, Władysława playing Chopin's Ballade No. 1, its narrative arc mirroring the city's struggle. Władysława's final note faded on September 26, 1939, but her melody played on. Captured in October clutching the child's burned doll, she endured Mokotów prison 78 days, fingers broken, yet hummed her etude as code. Released in 1940, she joined Home Army as etude, typing bulletins with 2 fingers. The September 27 attack cost 500 Germans, inspired the 1944 uprising. Post-war Virtudi Militari in 1945. She rebuilt the conservatory, taught 1,000 students. Died 1988 at 77. Funeral played her etude at 20:00. Grand Theater's annual silent concert ends at 20:00 in silence for the 7th day. Can silence become the most powerful movement? Others played in ruins. Irina Krakow, Maria Elwau, Zofia Gdansk, Anna Lublin. Thousands signaled, died, saved lives. Her legacy, manuals, 25,000 students, films, museums. Children hum Chopin in war zones. Subscribe to keep their music alive, one brave measure at a time. Will you carry their rhythm?